Sometimes you may be working inside one particular file in two different branches. For example, if we have a file named car.txt in both the main branch and the food branch. If we switch to main branch and edit the car.txt file, and after that you switch to food branch and edit the same car.txt file again, when you try to merge them together, you may run into an issue called conflict. Let's go to the repositories page and select the repository we are working on. You can see that we have two branches here. Now, let's open the local version of the repository in the terminal. Checking the current branch, you can see that we are inside the main branch. You can also see that we have the same files as the ones in GitHub. Now, let's open car.txt in Vim and edit it. Let's save and quit. Now, let's add commit and push. You can see that we now have 6 commits. If we open car.txt in the main branch on GitHub, you can see the new update we made to the file. Perfect. Now, let's go back to the repository page and switch to the food branch. Opening car.txt in the food branch, you can see that we do not have the updated version there. The update exists only in the main branch. Let's go back to the terminal. We are still in the main branch. Let's switch to the food branch. You can see that we have all the files there. Now let's open car.txt and edit it. Let's save and quit. Now let's add commit and push to the GitHub. Take note that we now have two different versions of car.txt. One version is in the main branch and the other version is in the food branch. Refreshing this page, you can now see the food branch version of car.txt, which is different from the update we made in the main branch. Let's check car.txt in the main branch. You can see that it is different from the one in the food branch. Both files have the same name, but they contain different updates. Now, to make both branches have the same updates, we need to merge them. Currently, we are inside the food branch. Let's switch to the main branch because we want to merge into it. We are now in the main branch. You can see that we still have the main version of car.txt, which is different from the food version. Now let's merge from the food branch. You can see that the merge was not successful. We now have an issue called conflict. Conflict happens when the same file is edited differently in two branches and Git does not know which version to keep automatically. In our case, both the main branch and the food branch contain car.txt, but both files have different updates. Git cannot decide whether it should keep the update from the main branch or the update from the food branch. Because of that, Git stops the merge process and asks us to resolve the conflict manually. Now, let's open car.txt. You can see that the merge process has added some extra lines into the files. The merge process tried to combine the update from both the main branch and the food branch at the same time. During this process, these extra symbols and lines were added. They are not part of what we originally wrote inside car.txt. They were added because of the conflict during merging. To resolve the conflict, we simply remove these conflict markers and keep the content we want. Now, car.txt contains the updates from both branches. Let's save and quit. Now let's add commit and push. Opening car.txt in the main branch, you can see that the file now contains all the updates. But if we switch to the food branch, you can see that car.txt there does not contain the update we made in the main branch. This is because we only merge the food branch into the main branch. We have not yet updated the food branch with the changes from main. That is our next step. Right now, we are inside the main branch, but we want to update the food branch. We firstly need to switch into food because that is the branch that needs the update. We are now inside the food branch. Opening car.txt, you can see that the updates from the main branch are still missing. Let's quit and continue with the merge. But before we merge, let me show you something important. Let's go to the repository page and click the branches button to see the branch details. You can see that the food branch is now 2 commits behind the main branch. Let me open another GitHub tab. I want this first tab to remain in the food branch and the second tab to remain in the main branch. I want to show you where these 2 commits behind is coming from. In the food branch, we have 6 commits, but in the main branch, we have 8 commits. Let's open the commit page. Now, let's compare from the oldest commit. Remember that the food branch tab is on the left side and the main branch tab is on the right side. You can see that the first commit is the same in both branches. The second commit is also the same. Likewise, the third, fourth, and fifth commits are the same. But you can see that the sixth commit in the main branch is missing in the food branch. That commit does not exist in the food branch. The seventh commit exists in both branches. If you remember, this commit was originally created in the food branch. When we merge the food branch into main. That commit also appeared in main. Now, look at the 8th commit. This commit was created in the main branch after we resolved the conflict. Because of that, it is also missing in the food branch. You can now see why the food branch is 2 commits behind. 2 commits exist in the main branch but do not exist in the food branch. That is what the 2 commits behind means. Now, let's go back to the terminal. We are inside the food branch. Let's now merge the main branch into the food branch. Run git merge main. You can see that the merge was successful and there is no conflict this time. Open car.txt. You can now see all the updates together. Let's quit. Now let's add commit and push. Refreshing the commit pages in both branches. You can see that both branches now have the same commits. The missing commits in the food branch have now been transferred from the main branch. Let's refresh the branch details page. You can see that we now have 0 commits behind and 0 commits ahead. That means the food branch is now fully updated. Open car.txt in the main branch. You can see the content. Now, let's open car.txt in the food branch. You can see that both branches now contain the same update. The conflict has now been resolved and both branches are updated. If you are working in 2 or more branches, one good way to reduce conflict is this. When you finish working in one branch, run git add commit and push. Then when you move to another branch, do not start editing immediately. First merge the latest updates from the other branch so that your current branch is up to date before you continue working. Doing this regularly helps reduce conflicts when working with multiple branches.